With the release of monitoring policy support for web application monitoring, AppNeta users will now have one place to set up network and web monitoring. When creating or updating monitoring policies, consider whether the monitored targets are web applications or network endpoints. If the targets are web applications, use a standalone policy for each application if each app requires a unique workflow. For example, you will likely require separate policies if you want the workflow to verify that a response includes the expected body text or that a particular UI element is present. Add a policy group to manage monitoring for multiple web applications, where the workflow is identical for each application, typically when a basic HTTP GET request is run for each application. In the policy editor, configure the policy target and add monitoring point and network rules as usual. The monitoring point rules section determines which monitoring points will test the web application at regular intervals and over which networks. Then, if the target is a web application, add web monitoring. Select the workflow type and configure monitoring preferences for web and network monitoring. Web monitoring can be configured either using direct HTTP requests to interact with a web application or using a Selenium script to simulate user interactions in a browser. Workflow configuration works much the same in monitoring policies as it did with web app groups, but we have simplified the user interface. You can now enter the endpoint in the target field of a policy to send an HTTP request to a specific endpoint, or to open a specific endpoint with the Selenium open command. Expand the advanced settings for additional configuration options, such as to have the workflow follow redirects, add authentication and variables, add a web proxy, or to customize aptX thresholds in a browser workflow. With web monitoring configured, the AppNeta monitoring points included in the policy by the monitoring point rules begin to test the web application at regular intervals. Web paths created by policies will appear on the web paths page, and the paths can be included in the Web App Availability Dashboard, as well as the Web App Violation Summary and Application Quality dashboards. Web paths created by policies are not supported by the older Web App Performance Dashboard. When web policies are initially released, any previously existing web monitoring will remain configured as web app groups. While users will be able to continue to use web app groups for now, we do recommend shifting towards monitoring policies for web monitoring. This concludes the introduction to web monitoring policies in AppNeta. As always, keep an eye on the AppNeta release notes. And head to the Broadcom support portal to subscribe to AppNeta release announcements to hear about the latest updates. Thanks for watching.